When Mike opens his noisy garage doors, he is startled by an offensive odor. As soon as he steps inside, he retches out in disgust. Where did the odor originate? Mike's stomach sinks horribly as he unexpectedly sees his neighbor's delivery. Whatever was inside the package was the source of the scent. As a result, he thought his neighbor had subscribed to one of those subscription boxes that provide meat each month. The box contained no meat of any kind. This was indeed an unimaginable experience. But before we start, smash the like button and make sure to subscribe if you haven't, and hit that notification bell so that you won't miss any new stories. Mike Jones was an ordinary man in an ordinary town. Throughout the community, many townspeople knew Mike as a friendly and caring neighbor who would be willing to help anybody out. But Mike had no idea what was coming to him when he agreed to help a new neighbor out. Mike had lived in the same house for the past 11 years, and with every new family that moved into the neighborhood, he welcomed them with a smile and a wave. So when his new neighbor asked Mike to pick up any mail or parcels he had delivered while he was away, Mike agreed, as any friendly neighbor would. Mike's new neighbor was younger than him. He was one of those YouTubers who seemed to enjoy filming wacky videos in hopes he would go viral. At first, Mike didn't mind. He's just young, he thought. But Mike had no idea the lengths his neighbor would go to become famous. One Friday afternoon, Mike heard a knock at the door. He answered and was surprised to see it was his YouTuber neighbor. It turned out his neighbor was going away for a few weeks, and he asked Mike to get his mail while he was gone. Mike was relieved to hear this. At least he'd be out of the way. But Mike had no idea what was coming his way. Then one night, Mike came across a package at the front of his neighbor's house. Written on it was "Return to sender" in bright red. It took around 15 minutes, and Mike had finally managed to transport his neighbor's large box into his own garage. But as he opened the squeaky garage doors, suddenly he lost grip on the box and it fell to the ground. He heard a crack coming from inside the box, and Mike stopped in his tracks. Whoops, he hoped it was nothing too expensive there, but Mike had no idea what he had just done. After pushing the box into the corner of the garage, Mike pulled down his squeaky garage doors and headed back inside his home. He had forgotten all about the box until a few days passed, but suddenly one day he noticed something that made him sick to his stomach. A terrible smell was lingering in the house. Mike searched all around his house, inspecting each and every corner and nook. But then he realized he hadn't checked his garage. He opened the squeaky garage door, and the repulsive smell knocked Mike back. He walked inside the garage, covering his nose. He had no idea what he was about to uncover. But then he realized something. The smell was coming from the box in the corner. Mike felt a terrible feeling hit the pit of his stomach as he looked at his neighbor's box. At first, Mike thought perhaps his neighbor had ordered one of those monthly meat subscription boxes. Mike covered his nose as he got closer to the box. He picked up a pair of scissors and bent down, but then he saw the box was soggy. Mike was repulsed at this. Straight away, as Mike opened the box, he was met with a smell that was so disgusting, Mike's mouth dropped wide open when he saw his neighbor inside the box. He was evidently dead, but in one piece. He ran out of his garage and called for help on his cell phone. Mike felt sick to his stomach. As quick as a flash, the cops turned up, but Mike wasn't prepared for what he would later find out. As expected, the cops took Mike in for interrogation, seeing as he was the one with a corpse in the garage. Thankfully, they realized he had nothing to do with it and let him go. But there was something inside the box alongside his neighbor's corpse that was a crucial piece of evidence. It would change everything and ultimately prove Mike's innocence. The neighbor was holding a vlogging camera. The cops showed Mike the footage from his neighbor's camera. He had no idea what he was going to watch, but he knew he had to find out. You see, the footage showed Mike's neighbor sitting inside the box at a shipping facility. He spoke into the camera and told people he was going to mail himself across the county. He had food, blankets, flashlights, and bottles. The plan was foolproof, or that's what he thought. He didn't know what he was getting himself into. His neighbor thought this prank was going to make him go viral. Soon enough, people worldwide would hear about the guy that mailed himself home. He would get thousands of views on his channel and make a good profit out of ad revenue. Maybe he would even get some interviews on mainstream media. And people did indeed end up hearing about him. But it was for a much more harrowing and eerie reason. Throughout the following hours of footage, Mike's neighbor seemed cool, calm, and collected despite being stuck and crammed inside a box. At one point, he told his viewers thought he was in a truck, ready to be delivered. But in the last piece of footage in Mike's neighbor's harrowing video diary, he confidently told the camera he had a feeling he was near home. Then suddenly, the box toppled over and the shot went to black. His neighbor had broken his neck. After watching this footage, Mike felt sick to his stomach. While he thought his neighbor was stupid for attempting such a dangerous prank, he never could have expected it would have cost him his life. But there was something that Mike had failed to mention to the police. It was a crucial detail that would have major consequences. You see, in his neighbor's footage, just after the box toppled over and his neighbor broke his neck, Mike heard a noise that sounded incredibly familiar. When he realized what it was, he felt a shiver going down his spine. It was a sound that he knew very well. The screeching sound of his own garage door. Could it be that Mike was to blame for his neighbor's unfortunate incident? Instantly, Mike was hit by a violent wave of anguish and anxiety. Had he been responsible for his neighbor's death? What should he do? What would the police say about it? But surely they had checked the footage as well. They knew that the cause of the accident was the box toppling over. However, there was one essential detail. Just by checking the footage, the police had no way of knowing where the accident had taken place. They didn't know whose responsibility it was. For all they knew, the box could have fallen off the truck upon delivery or from one of the racks inside the truck. While reflecting this, Mike came to an appalling realization. The police had no way of knowing that the accident had occurred inside his garage. Therefore, they were in the dark about the fact that it was Mike who dropped the box, causing his neighbor's death. Now, Mike was faced with a dilemma he could have never guessed he would have to encounter. Should he tell the police about what really happened? Should he tell them that the screech they could hear on the footage was his garage door? In other words, should he tell them that his neighbor died inside his house and as a result of him dropping the box? Would he be able to live all his life with the certainty that his neighbor died inside his garage and that he lied to the police about it? One police officer stopped the video right there and then. Then, all the officers in the room turned back and looked at Mike for a few seconds. "I'm sorry for this," the officer said. "I can see that you're distressed. The footage is certainly quite disturbing, and I'm sorry that you had to watch it, but it's necessary. Now, with your permission and my fellow officers, I'm going to have to ask you a few questions about what we all have just seen playing on that screen. I would like to ask you if the box fell down inside your garage or after you picked it up," he said, giving Mike an ice-cold stare that looked like it could perforate into his mind and his very soul. After some quiet seconds that felt like an eternity, Mike finally spoke. He opened his mouth to give his version to the police officers surrounding him, staring at him with piercing eyes. He admitted all the truth. The box toppled over inside his garage. It was him that lost his grip on it, resulting in his neighbor's death. What was going to happen to him now? Was he going to jail? The police officers seemed shocked by his reaction. One of them brought him a glass of water, and the officer who had asked him the question waited a few seconds before speaking back. "Well, I'm sorry for what you're going through. However, you must know that you won't be accused of manslaughter. It was an accident. However, there's something that might happen. Your neighbor's family might consider that you're liable for the accident, and they might have the right to claim compensation. However, the judge will have the last word in all of this." Mike felt relieved to hear this. Besides, now his conscience was clean. But now there was a new worry in his life. Would his neighbor's family claim compensation?